Okay, do the roar. All right, what is going on there, everybody? So we have finally acquired all the mods needed for the build, and they are already on the car. Straight up, I wanted to do a video like I've talked about in my last video where I show you an install of me basically putting on all the mods on the vehicle, but I just was not comfortable enough with trying to film while my coworkers are here. It's just not something like I felt comfortable with, so I apologize for that. But I do want to at least make an update video on where the car's at right now and what the car looks like. Other work that I've done to the car now that it's finally at least somewhat fully bolt on. And what I notice in a difference now that I've kind of somewhat woken up my 3-valve, right? So we're located here in the Forest Park Funeral Home and Cemetery, located here in Houston, Texas. As you can see, we got some headstones out that way and out behind me. I apologize if the audio quality is a little bit bad, just because it's a little windy today, and right behind me we got the 45, so that shit's kind of loud. So I'm going to try to talk as loud and clear as I possibly can over all the traffic noise. I didn't want to be in anybody's way out there, so that's why I didn't want to film directly into the cemetery, and that's why we're in the parking lot, just to be respectful. I really wanted to actually film it at the mortuary over there, but it's a walk-in mortuary and you can't actually park the vehicle out in the front of it, so that really sucks. But I think it's comfortable where it's at right now, so I'm out of everybody's way. Man, that wind's starting to really pick up. Anyways, so I'm gonna do like a little rundown of what had happened when I was out in California with this car, right? So in terms of the mods and what I had to get. So as soon as I got this vehicle, I already wanted to mod it. I already wanted to buy shit for it. I wanted to make it faster, just because I knew the 3-valve wasn't, isn't as, it's snappy, but it's not the fastest thing in the world, right? It gets off on its ass when you need it to. But if you're gonna try to race or go up against people, you're more than likely gonna lose to most vehicles these days. I'm sorry, but the Coyote killed this fucking engine. This engine is almost completely obsolete now with the introduction to the 5.0. It is just, you can't compete against a 5.0 against this thing without being at least fully bolt-on with at least something like a supercharger, right? Which we're gonna get there eventually, because I do want to build a 3-valve and have that title that I have a fully built 3-valve, and that's why we're going that direction. So yeah, my buddy has a Coyote Mustang, and that thing is like a factory freak. That's what I call it. That's the name for it that I'm giving it. That thing's a factory freak. That thing's stock, and that thing beats 3rd gen Coyotes. That thing is fast. I don't know what the hell is, he's got like a Silicon Valley Coyote, but that's besides the point. So I tried to wash the car to present it for this vehicle, or for this as well, but as you can see, it's water spotted. It's springtime, so there's pollen all over the place and just getting all over the vehicle. So that's unfortunate, but it still looks good. But yeah, so I was out in California. The intake manifold I got for $100 out in California. The BBK Throttle Body, I got that for like $200 off some other guy out in California. Let's see what else. So really the only things I was really waiting on was a cold air intake and what was the other thing? Cold air intake, long tube headers, and the tune. The tune is actually tuned by Lito. As you guys know, I always call him 3-valve whisperer. He's kind of like your go-to guy in terms of tuning 3-valves if you're on kind of a budget, unless you can actually straight up dyno tune your car, which I don't have the budget to dyno tune a car. So that's why I went the data log route and just basically sent them my data logs and just revised it to the point where it's finally perfect. And to tell you the truth, how I feel about the car in its current condition, it could be faster. Now, if you guys are familiar with Four Eyes, he actually made a video about you losing a lot of low-end torque with the Ford Performance Intake racing manifold. And yes, I do very much agree with that. I don't have nearly as much low-end torque anymore as I do in the high-end. So by the time I get into about second gear at about 3,500 to 4,000 RPM is when you really start to feel the power kick in. And third gear especially, if you're in third gear and you're at about 40 miles per hour, and you just romp on it, that thing takes off. So I do have a lot of high end power with the intake manifold, but I've lost a lot of low end power. So I've lost low for high, which I'm all for, because when you're trying to race, I don't really care so much to get off the line that quickly as I am beating them in the long run with high end power. When I probably cam this vehicle, which I'm already starting to look at doing, when I cam it, I may gain some low end power back. So that's kind of where it's going to compensate and level itself back out. When I do eventually go supercharged, though, I do want to take off the racing intake manifold for a Roush supercharger, but I'm not entirely sure if I can acquire one of those, just because they're hard to find on the 3-valve specifically. At least from where I've looked on the internet, I can't seem to find them brand new anymore in any way. You may have to go the used route, right? So I don't know. I want a bolt-on supercharger, that much I know. I don't want an external hanging off to the side type of supercharger. I kind of want a bolt-on to the intake manifold type of supercharger, just to make the engine look cleaner. But yeah, so I guess I'll show you basically all the work that has been done again up to this point, and the things that I've done to the car that might inspire you to make your own 3-valve build. So as you know, I call this thing the Death Sting. I'm kind of thinking about restructuring it and calling it the Undead Mare or something like that. And look at that, we already got a spider web. How spooky. Anyways, as you guys know, this emblem's getting really fucked up just because of the road debris that keeps hitting it, so I have to keep touching it up. I need to redo it to where the whole thing is acrylic enamel. But I hand drew this, pretty much my signature branding of the skeleton horse on the Mustang here. I went and hand drew this. As you can see, it's starting to chip really bad though, and I had to, like, again, touch it up here and there. But that's why I call it the Death Sting, because of that emblem I got going on there. We went ahead and replaced the headlights and fog lights. These are axials that you can get off of American Muscle that are basically just a stock replacement. I prefer the stock replacement over the Halos or some of the other brand ones that you can get out there where you got the bars right here, the LED bars. I prefer this traditional muscle car, old school look to the vehicle, which is why we stuck with these. Fog lights are fog lights, is as it is. Fog lights are just, well, that. I do want to smoke these out in the future, but for right now, I think they look pretty badass as just being as is. We removed the yellow side marker housing and made this like blacked out axial one as well, so it looks a little more cleaner on the vehicle. We do have, this came with the car, it is a true fiber GT500 style hood. It does have some imperfections in it in the fiberglass, which I will have to do or have a body shop fix in the future when I have to get the car repainted. Here we have I also hand painted these as well, the skeleton pony tri-bar emblems. It's funny because my coworker, his friend, when we were all we went to Texas 2K, right? And he thought this was a V6 just based off the badges, but it's just got the V6 badges that are, hand painted to look like a skeleton horse. Because I removed the GT emblems for these ones because I wanted that skeleton look on the vehicle. Yeah, I got this one and that one on both sides of the fenders here. We did take the 2014 GT wheels, GT premium wheels. I like these style wheels for stock. I think they look great, so that's why I stuck with these. We're soon going to get some welds though. I'm thinking about getting lacunas for the rears just because they look very similar to this style of rim. So we'll have some weld lacunas in the very future as rear rims. They're basically a drag tire, as you guys know what welds are. And if you ever want to follow me, 3-valve reanimated is my signature for my car on Instagram. That's kind of what I'm calling my whole overall branding of the vehicle. As you guys know, I'm kind of into that spooky shit, right? So 3-valve reanimated, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to basically bring the 3-valve from the grave, because the Coyote engine pretty much killed it, right? So that's kind of why I call it 3-valve reanimated, because we're taking something from the dead, bringing it back to life. So hopefully people will appreciate the 3-valve just a little bit more. Now, without showing my license plate there, we do have the Raxiom tail lights there. I did do this in Photoshop. So this is a sticker that went over the emblem here. I pretty much hand drew this as well in Photoshop, and had a company called TFB Designs design this for me. It's not perfect. As you can see, some of the lines aren't kind of shaping on the hair on the horse here. Don't know how it printed out, but the print didn't really quite copy that, but it still looks pretty badass for having my own custom signature on the vehicle. And as you guys know on my YouTube channel, this is the same emblem that I have as my profile picture, so pretty cool. We went ahead and satin blacked out the chrome as well on the emblem here. This is also, I think, the axial LED brake light. We went ahead and replaced that with that. Again, you got your Raxiom tail lights, no complaints there. Now, looking at the interior before we go into the engine bay here, some of the mods that I've done for the interior. So nothing really special. I did not like, because the premium options in these vehicles had those leather inserts, and as we all know, it's a common thing that they fail, they drag, they droop. I went ahead and went to the junkyard and just got the base model door panel where it's just hard plastic. That looks heaps better than the crappy ass leather insert that they have on these vehicles. I also didn't like the silver door handles, so I went with the base model door handles instead of the silver ones. Let's see, what else did we do? We did paint the emblem on the steering wheel just because I prefer black. And just yesterday, actually, I went to the junkyard and grabbed the silver carbon fiber, like, it's like a finish. I wouldn't call it true carbon fiber. It's more of a finish on a aluminum piece. It's kind of like the silver trim that you get in the GT premium options. I found it off of a V6, decided to grab it and put it on my vehicle. And to be honest, that looks pretty damn badass. I like it. What else did we do? We did do a lighting mod. As you guys know, I do lighting mods for S197 Mustangs for basically, more specifically, if I can get into the vehicle here, close the door here, maybe it'll block out some of the noise. So I do lighting mods for the S197 Mustangs. I kind of charge about $200 to do them if y'all are interested, although my prices are always fluctuating based off of just, you know, parts and labor. But I did do a lighting mod to where these buttons and the HVAC down here, steering wheel controls, door lock, window switches, all that shit is actually red. You probably won't see it too well, but as you can see, it's a little red. It's just too damn bright to really show you. But I wanted the interior to be all red. I'm doing a red and black sort of theme with this vehicle. So that's kind of why I went with the red. I have already done a few lighting mods with people. Some dude that has a Shelby wanted a white one, so I did a white mod for him. But if y'all are interested, hit me up, because I do lighting mods for S197 Mustangs. So that way I can actually kind of put that money towards building the cars a little more, because that's kind of why I started doing that, was so that way I can, do a build type related thing with this car and for my channel. What else? In the future, I do want to get a short throw shifter. This stock shifter aids. Every time you try to put it into third, it can get stuck when you're trying to either race or, just try to get it off its ass. Doesn't happen as frequently, but as we all know from the S197s, the Tremec 3650 likes to get stuck in trying to put it into third sometimes. When you get more used to this transmission, it doesn't happen as often, but it still does happen here and there. Don't know what the hell is up with this shifter, but it is just not very comfortable just based off of that alone. It can make you lose a lot of races when you miss that third gear shift. Let's see. I do have heated seats. I added that option myself. I grabbed the water carbon, I think it's called water carbon set off of Amazon. It's like a cheap little Chinese heated seats kit. We wired that in up there, and as you can see, that's the switch for it right here. I just drilled into the plastic right here. That basically allows you to access the adjuster for the e-brake, and we put the switch right there. So you got left and right seats that are now heated, and in the wintertime they do help a lot with my back when I have back issues. So yeah, heated seats in these cars are awesome. Obviously we know with the newer cars like 08 and 09, they came with heated seat options down here, and I'm actually thinking in the future if there's a way that I can actually rig those up to be buttons for up here to have it look more factory OEM. But you know, it's not a big priority of mine. Don't really care so much about that at the moment. But yeah, that's pretty much it for interior wise. In terms of what I've modified in here, I just think it looks heaps cleaner having the carbon fiber looking finish up in here. I do want to paint the silver up in here though. I don't like this silver look. I'll probably mask off everything and paint these black up in here. But yeah, so that's basically what it looks like in the interior. And now let's go ahead and pop open the hood and show you what the hood looks like. All right, so here she is, everybody. So intake manifold, cold air intake, MSD coil plugs right there. Not much of a mod, but it still helps. We got silicone radiator hoses made by HPS. We do have our BBK long tube headers down there that is fitted with a BBK Offroad X pipe. And we also got our JLT, or not JLT, that is no JLT. That is our Jinping fucking catch can over there. Chinese $30 Amazon catch can. I didn't think it was necessary to actually buy a fucking JLT. This $30 catch can made by Evil Energy is actually, it comes with a baffle. Honestly, this is actually a pretty good bang for your buck. If you're interested in an oil catch can, I would look to invest in this Evil Energy one. Because I don't feel like paying $150 for a fucking can that catches oil, such as the JLT, right? So, if you guys are interested, just let me know, because I did take the time to figure out what fucking hoses will fit on this correctly, what fittings will fit on this correctly, because I wanted this to look clean. I didn't want to just connect a rubber hose to the inlet side of the valve cover here. So let me know, because I do have the information on this, since I've spent massive amounts of money trying to find what fuel hose basically goes on this damn thing. But besides the point. So yeah, here's the intake manifold, just all of it. Just, it looks clean as fuck in my opinion. Straight out the bat, I think this looks better under the hood than a Coyote engine, just because you don't have that fake cover on the top. This thing is the real deal. This whole thing is the real deal in terms of an intake manifold, and in terms of dress up, right? Like, this looks clean as hell. Again, I tried my best to keep it clean, but with spraying, it sucks. But it's not really a whole lot to say about it, other than, yeah, in terms of power, this thing, it's definitely getting there. I don't have really any complaints. I don't have any, you know, cam phaser ticking or anything like that. And, you know, I'm starting to run Royal Purple full synthetic oil into this thing. So I'm hoping it'll take care of me as I take care of it, and I don't have any issues with this vehicle in the foreseeable future. We do have about 100 and, I think actually I just hit 149,000 miles on this thing, but it still runs strong. I don't have any complaints about it. Now, the things I will talk about in terms of how difficult, since I didn't do a video basically explaining the installation of this, basically I'll give you a rundown of how difficult this really was. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't like I wanted to kill myself. I did have my coworkers helping me out, which I'm very thankful for, in terms of the long tube headers. The long tube headers are going to be down there. They're going to be your most difficult part of the installation of this vehicle. Which is no different from the Coyote. The Coyote, you have to remove a bunch of shit. If I remember right, you have to remove the steering column. On this side, it's going to be the starter, your motor mounts, and then you got to drop the engine a little bit. Having an extra pair of eyes and hands definitely makes the installation go way smoother. They were willing to work with me, so that's great. But yeah, honestly, my biggest gripe would have been that, or like I said, the hardest part to this installation was the long tube headers by far. Not just only because the hardware that BBK gives you is kind of ass, but the Offroad X pipe that claims to fit for this vehicle doesn't actually fit all that great for this vehicle at all. The reason for that is the hangers have to be bent a little bit, so I actually had to go to an exhaust shop to have it kind of custom fitted on the vehicle. So that's not fun. Also, the bolt, they want you to cut a bolt on the passenger side, which you'll see if I can zoom in right there. If you see that bolt right there, that is a bolt I had to go pick up from Lowe's, because they wanted you to basically they wanted you to cut one of their bolts. That way you can actually fit it up in there and thread it. Every time I cut it though, it won't thread. So I said, fuck this, I'm gonna get the correct size bolt and basically put a washer on it and call it a day. It doesn't really look all that clean, but it does the job. So again, a lot of headaches with the headers and getting the fitment just right with the Offroad X pipe. And again, this should bolt up, right? These are all BBK products, but no, not on this vehicle. The intake manifold, no problem at all. The only thing it sketches me the fuck out about is when you cut the fuel line crossover on this vehicle, you do have to get at least on mine, it's a 5/16 fuel line hose. You put a 5/16 on there, and then you have to use a fuel clamp, so that way that the fuel basically doesn't go, doesn't blow the line off, because obviously your fuel lines are under pressure, right? So that sketches me the fuck out, having it like that and having to cut the factory like little plastic nylon hose in replacement for a fuel line hose. I'm hoping this never causes me an issue in the future, just because I don't know how much I can trust these fuel line clamps from coming loose, or the pressure just being too great and popping these off. I don't know. I just hope it don't cause an issue, because obviously that can be really, really bad if that fuel line or that fuel gets on the headers and then creates a big fire. The other thing with this intake manifold is, if you do get this, make sure that you cut the excess plastic up in here where my index finger is, because this excess plastic likes to cut into the hose, and that will be a big problem as well, where the hose may get cut and it may explode and fuel going everywhere as well. So that's why I put and wrapped electrical tape around that part of the hose to make sure that it doesn't start cutting into it too much, based off of the fact that this intake manifold, the plastic is just like really sharp right here. So I would advise taking some sandpaper. If yours isn't like this, and maybe mine's just defective though, just sand it down a little bit so it smoothens out and it doesn't cut too much into the hose, and then just wrap electrical tape around it and call it a day. So that's my only problem with the intake manifold. Now when I bought it, it didn't come with hardware, so I actually had to buy hardware off of Spec Bolt. It's basically a website that basically just sells nothing but bolts. You type in what size bolt you're looking for, and they give it to you. So that's why I had to get custom bolts for this guy. These ones actually have flanges on them, unlike the ones that actually come with the manifold. The ones that come with the manifold are actually a Torx type of screw. I think these work way better. So if you can actually just get the Spec Bolt type or a flange type of bolt, I would highly recommend going with flanged on this manifold here. That way you don't have to use fucking washers and shit. Just makes the job look cleaner. The BBK Throttle Body, I painted it. Looks like ass though. The paint's already starting to come apart, so I'm probably going to redo that. Now, the thing I should mention is what is it? I can't remember what it is about these bolts here, but I also had to go to the hardware store and get custom bolts for the top of the top bolts here, just because the ones that I got... Oh, I know what it is. Okay, so Ford Performance PDF, the PDF on this intake manifold, they don't take into account the bolt size for, say, an aftermarket throttle body. So the BBK throttle body, as you can see, the thickness here, look at how thick this metal is right here. The stock one is less thicker than that. It's like that thin. So the stock throttle body doesn't have as much material right here where the housing is for basically bolting this up to the intake manifold. So the bolt size on the PDF for this manifold gave me the size for basically just to fit the stock throttle body, but that's not taking into account that this BBK throttle body is leaps thicker. So I had to find a longer bolt to basically mount into this intake manifold, because the one that they were listing on the PDF was just, again, taking into account that that's for the stock. So that really blows, because I bought the hardware that I thought I needed for the throttle body, and then it turned out to be too short. So I had to find a longer stud to basically mount back there. And I can't even remember what size this one is, but yeah, if you do have to get the hardware for this manifold, just note that the throttle body bolts are going to be a lot longer. You're going to need a lot longer of a stud than the ones that they're claiming on the PDF. And I wish they had mentioned that in the event that if you have to go to, you know, an aftermarket throttle body, that may be something that you have to look into. Cold air intake. Now the cold air intake, I I don't really have any complaints with it other than the fact that it doesn't really align with my hood very well, which really fucking sucks. As you can see, I've removed the fancy little leather gasket that goes on the top of this little box housing here, and the reason for that is because the hood for the Ram induction system has this little pop out right here, right? It's kind of like coming out of the hood here. Basically, it doesn't allow my hood to close very well with that little gasket, so I had to go ahead and just remove it, and it looks kind of ugly. I might just sand this down and figure out another solution for that. But that's my only complaint with the cold air intake, is it doesn't really fit very well with the true fiber GT500 hood here. What else? The MSD coil plugs obviously came with the car here. I don't really have any complaints about these. I've heard a lot of people don't like MSD coil plugs. Sometimes they just don't work or run really right on the vehicle, but I've never had any issues with them. So it's a hit or miss. I don't have a problem with them, but a lot of people seem that they're a trash type of coil plug, and they're kind of overkill on a car because they burn way hotter than they need to be. But performance. The catch can. Let's go ahead and review this catch can here. For $30, I can't complain about a Evil Energy catch can. It does its job. It does come in with a built-in baffling system. So it does try to collect any particulates that may end up going into the intake here. Obviously, this will help detrimentally from getting any type of carbon deposits starting to cake up on your valves and all that good shit. So that's why I think it's just good. You know, even if it may not do as good of a job as a JLT, something is better than nothing. And I really just don't feel like paying $150 for a fucking aluminum catch can. That just seems really stupid in my opinion. So instead, I went with the cheaper option and bought this $35 Evil Energy catch can. Now, to be honest though, I would say that it probably cost me a little bit more just because I had to buy custom hoses. These hoses were about 20 bucks for 5 feet, and the catch can was 35. And then the fittings here, to make it look more OEM, the fittings were going to be 20 for both, if I remember right. It's $10 for each of the fittings, this one and that one. So honestly, I paid a little under $100 for the catch can. That's probably why it's a little more expensive with the JLT, because you're getting everything to look more factory like, and it's whatever to me. I don't really care. But yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it for the engine. So let's go ahead and take it to the front now. All right, so I think that's gonna do it for this video. In the future, I do want to cam the car. That's gonna be its next mod. I just don't know when, since cams are pretty damn expensive. They're about 800 bucks. That's why I'm really hoping that I can sell a lot of those lighting mods to kind of raise money for the vehicle and kind of do more build related videos for the mod, or for the channel. So if you guys are interested in having S197, help me out here. Order a lighting mod, damn it. Yeah, we're gonna cam the car. I do want to get a Hero video recorder, so that way I actually feel a little more comfortable with recording work being done to the car, because trying to do this shit with a camera just feels cringy as fuck to me. I don't like handling a phone in my hand. It's just not natural to me. I think it would be a lot more natural to actually have a head camera, or a mounted camera on my head, so that way you guys just can see what it is that I'm actually doing and looking at during the video, and what I'm you know, working with, and what I can explain the issues that I'm dealing with during the installation. So yeah, that's going to be my next few things I'm going to be investing in, is a Hero camera as well as some cams. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I look forward to the next available mod on this car and the journeys that it brings me. Have a good one, guys. Peace out.